what's happened in the last video.
Is there gonna be an erotic scene up ahead? Probably. That was unexpected.
And here is more MrDudeManSir.
Yo is determined to talk to him today. Nothing will happen as long as she continues to hesitate, and putting it off will only make her suffer and last longer. It's time to show courage once again. Do it, girl. Go to your lover. Yo's fourth period on Thursdays is biology, ironically enough, and this is her chance to see Fuminori. Because it's an unrequited course with many students, the lecture is held in a large hall that can seat over 200. But since the room is usually only about half full, or half empty depending on if you're pessimist or optimist, it's rarely difficult for Yo to find the seat she wants. Yo prefers to sit near the center, where it's the easiest to hear the professor. Most of the students congregate in this area for the same reason. Fuminori usually sits next to her, although it's not always possible when there's no seat available. Yo has resigned herself to presenting the distance still between them, but they still always try to sit as close as possible. The classroom isn't crowded today, so Yo was able to set her bag on the seat next door without bothering anyone. Yo, I am sorry, but my protagonist here has a new lady, and she happens to be like 10 years younger than you, so you have been replaced. When the professor arrives at the usual time to start class, however, there's still no sign of Fuminori. After waiting for about 10 minutes, you furtively cast your glance around the room. He's there! Fuminori must have come in without her noticing, because he's sitting alone in the far back corner of the room. Did he miss Yo when he came in? No, that's impossible. In the first place, no serious student would willingly sit in such an inconvenient place. Feeling miserable, Yo slides her bag over to herself. This room looks like some sort of holding cell, or some sort of insane asylum. Fuminori is about out of the door the moment class ends, and Yo barely manages to catch up with him before he disappears out in the hallway. Saisaka-san! At the sound of his name, Fuminori stiffens as though he was just bellowed at. Hi, what is it? He turns to her and says, though he seems reluctant to do so. Now that they're face to face, Yo is painfully aware of how much weight Fuminori has lost. His sunken eyes and protruding cheekbones are far cry from the features familiar to her. She wonders whether he's a lot of stress, or perhaps not getting enough nutrition. Maybe it's both. He looks more tense than he should be, like he's irritated or even frightened of something. His eyes move restlessly from point to point, and refuses to look Yo in the eye. Just looking at him makes Yo's chest ache with sadness. What could have changed him so? Today, she reminds herself, relighting the flame of courage in her heart. I have something to talk to you about. Do you have some time? The courtyard is empty and silent, no one willing to sit on a bench and chat in the cold November air. So what is it? Don't you remember? He almost blurts out, but she managed to keep herself from being so blunt. No smoke weed every day. Saisaka-san, you've been acting strange recently. I'm worried about you. Maybe you're right. A lot's happened after all. I'm a bit confused. Isn't, what's his name? Fuminori supposed to hear this blurbs of, no words from these people and their monsters to him? So how can he hear and respond to them during select times? But at the beginning he was just hearing gibberish. I don't know. He smiles like it's nothing, but even that's stiff and forced. He seems to stand precisely one pace farther away than he used to while talking to her. Is that really all? Do you think there's something more? Yo manages to keep the flinching at the hardness in his voice. It's like You're struggling with something. Rather than answer, Sayasaka grinds his toe into the dead grass at his feet, fearing that a determination might flag. Yo lets the words come as they may. It's like you're trying to bear some unimaginable weight, but the struggle is breaking you. That's how you look to me. Oh really? Fuminori mutters through the clenched teeth, no longer even trying to deny it or change the topic. This brush off as an even clearer signal of the rejection at his earlier evasiveness. But Yo's determination is strong. Today at least, she will not back down. It's times like these, she implores, trying to convey the sincerity of their feelings for him, that you need your friends. I feel really about what happened to your family. But you're not alone. You have Tono-kun, Nomichi-chan, and those Y symbols. You have me. You can no longer stop the words from pouring out. She fears that if she does not release all of her myriad of emotions pent up inside her, they will be lost forever. I think we can help you, so you don't have to carry everything by yourself. If we can't do anything, talking to us might make you feel a little better. I want to help you, Saisaka-san. The others all feel the same. Stop it! Fuminori shouts, silencing Yo's entreaty. She had promised herself that she wouldn't back down, but Fuminori's expression was terrible enough to shatter her resolve. The look in his eyes is not anger, or any warm-blooded emotion. It is hate. Murderously cold hate. Oh yeah, I just remembered that I still haven't given you an answer. He remembers. He remembers that he still has treated her with such coldness. That alone is more than enough of an answer for Yo. If it's worth tear her heart to shreds any farther, she won't be able to bear it. I never saw you in any particularly special way before. When you expressed your feelings for me, I wasn't sure how to respond. I didn't know how I really felt about you, after all. Saisaka-san. But now, I can give you a clear answer. I've had plenty of time to think it over, you know. Tsukaba-san, I hate you. I don't even want to look at you. I mustn't cry, Yo tells herself, but too late to stop the tears pouring down from her eyes. I suppose it's too much to hope that I never see you again. We did go to the same school. So would you mind at least never talking to me again? I'm quite sick of you. How could you be so... Yo inadvertently whispers, to which Fuminori twists his lips into a horribly cruel smile. You should calm down a little, seriously. I bet you were just edged by Omi and Kyoji, right? You can play at having a crush all you want, but leave me out of it. That's all Yo can take. Even after shedding tears in front of him, she absolutely refuses to let him hear her cry. Any disgrace would be preferable than breaking down here. So she runs, fleeing breathlessly from the courtyard with Fuminori smiling coldly at her back. Well, she just got denied. Omi was the first to catch sight of Yo and Fuminori leaving for the courtyard. Reluctant to interrupt them, but still unwilling to leave them alone, Kyoji and Omi ended up watching the whole thing from the shadows. Look at them. That butthole. Throughout the exchange, Omi was clearly itching to jump out and punch him, sock him one too. Knowing her temper, Kyoji held firm hold of her sleeve until the end. If he hadn't, she might have very well just went completely ballistic. Fuminori leaves after Yo, his every step seeming to take an act of willpower. Kyoji slides heavily into the once more empty courtyard. The bitter taste in his throat won't go away. What's wrong with him? Even for Kyoji, Fuminori's treatment of Yo is unforgivable. However, the first thing that he feels is confusion. Kyoji and Fuminori are old friends, having known each other since before college. As far as Kyoji knows, Fuminori has never been so cruel before. But it's a reason. And there's a bit of a change since then. It's just a wee bit. There's no question that the accident has changed him. No. I believe your deduction is wrong. Kyoji, are you going to just let this go? I don't want to, but what can we do? He is happy at his home painted halfway with green paint, which he could have chose different colored paints with, and he has a lolicon girlfriend. What more could you man ask for? Something better than peeping. Omi shouts, clearly infuriated. It won't be satisfied until I give him a piece of my mind. That won't make Tsukaba feel any better, you know. But it'll at least make me feel better. Yo and Omi are best friends, just like Kyoji and Fuminori. And it was the relationship between Kyoji and Omi that brought Fuminori and Yo together. Just as it is natural for Omi to be worried about their friend, it is also natural for her to be angry at Fuminori. That was a weird friendship tree I just experienced in the text of a paragraph. I'm gonna have to put that together as I keep going. I'm going to talk to Sakisaka-kun myself. You don't have to come. You serious? You go take care of Yo. She's probably really hurt. After she's finished crying, she'll need someone to be nice to her. Wait, shouldn't we switch jobs? In my personality, if I try to comfort her, I'll just end up making it a lot worse. Yeah, you have a point. What's that supposed to mean? Anyway, just don't go too far, if you know what I mean. Wink wink. Ending the conversation before Omi's mood gets any worse, Kyoji heads off to find Yo. Oh dear, we're back here again. I feel awful, miserable, but also refreshed. I finally crossed the line. I knew it would come crashing down like this sooner or later, having become unable to feel anything but disgust for other people. There was no way I could help to maintain the relationship I had before the accident. Today's incident will definitely get back to Kyoji and Omi, and everyone will be convinced that Saisaka Fuminori has had a major change of character. Honestly, I don't care anymore. At least I probably won't be institutionalized for this. I just need to avoid acting any stranger than I already have. If this puts a rift between me and the others, good. Just thinking about the stress I'll avoid makes me feel like a weight has been lifted from my shoulders. I'm fed up with sticking their noses into my life. It's like they don't care about my gut turn and just being near me. I've been terrified of them until now, but today, I struck fear into one of them. On one hand, thinking about this is a relief, but I'm not so entirely sure of remorse for what happened. The person I just chased off with the verbal equivalent of a nuclear bomb used to be my friend Yo. Even if my senses don't believe it, my mind accepts the theory. I don't have a particular grudge against Yo herself, so I didn't want to hurt her. In retrospect, perhaps I should have just outright refused to talk to her. Yo, she was an attractive woman. I certainly didn't think badly of her. To be honest though, I was annoyed when Kyoji and Omi tried to stick us together for the fun of it. It felt like I was being toyed with, and Yo seemed totally oblivious of the fact that she was dancing with their tune. Her cluelessness was irritating. That said, I knew that none of them meant any harm. Back then, I didn't have any reason to hurt the others just to get out of my way. If having a casual relationship with Yo would keep a circle of friends together, I was willing to make that compromise. Now, however, there's no room in my heart for the tolerance necessary just to go with the flow. If merely talking to someone is an unbearable ordeal, how can I be expected to show kindness? These ruminations have left me exhausted. I want to return to Saya as soon as possible, but thinking about the packed trains and crowded downtown streets between here and home saps my will. Catching sight of a nearby bench, I sit down and close my eyes to the horrors of the world. I can't do anything with the stink or the noise, but at least I can manage to calm my nerves enough to rest. When I regained my consciousness in the T University Hospital ward, the world was dark as it is now. I hadn't regained my sight, even though my eyes or optical nerves were fine. It must have been an after effect of the accident. Blindness was a shock, but now I know that my suffering was nothing. After all my senses of hearing, touch, taste, and smell were all fine at the time. The real tragedy began when my sight returned. The one small mercy was that I was able to come to terms with a terrible accident in my neurology while still blind. I panicked when I first saw the nightmarish hospital and the blood-curdling shapes of the doctors and nurses, but I soon guessed the cause. It chills me to think of what might have happened if I had recovered my sight along with my consciousness, suddenly awaking in what can only be described as hell. I would have no doubt lost my mind instantly. Soon my disorder spread to the sense of touch, taste, and smell. In human sensory structure, sight is far more powerful than any of the other senses. The taste of my food, the feel of the bed sheets, and the fragrance of my get-well flowers all became as unbearably foul as my eyes said they should be. Eventually, when even the voices of the doctors became unrecognizable as human, I decided to kill myself. I didn't believe for a second that I could come to terms with this new world. At least not until I met Saya. One night when I was trying to think of a painless way to die, I found myself succumbing to sleep. Drifting between the nightmares in my dreams and the nightmare of reality, I didn't notice her enter my room. Oh, hey there. Saya. Coolsies. So wait, I just actually stopped to think. Why you? Why are you the only person he sees? I want to figure that out. You are an enigma to me, and I shall figure you out before the end of this game. I have said it, so it will happen. Suddenly there was a face starting curiously down at me from next to my bed. The face was not covered in pus, slime, or earthworm-like feelers. It had smooth white cheeks, round eyes, a little lovely nose. All things I had never expected to see again. The face was that of a girl, undeniably human and positively glowing with beauty. I sighed in admiration, savoring the first peace and joy since regaining my sight. Apparently, she had not expected such a reaction. Aren't you afraid of me? Wait, what? Looking at the clock, I saw that it was exactly 3 in the morning. Not a time for a young girl to be wandering around the hospital. Even someone with no imagination would likely have a thought of a ghost. I, however, wouldn't have cared if she was a ghost either way. She was a godsend. Who are you? Why are you here? I'm Saya. I'm looking for my dad. I assumed that she was a daughter of one of the night shift nurses at other patients. It was unusual, but not unthinkable for such a child to be wandering around. Rather, it was the hospital security's fault for not locking the doors properly. It's no fun if you're not scared. What? Wait, I cried, desperate to keep her from leaving. It was only after she turned around that I realized I hadn't thought of what to do next. Well? Her eyes drew me into the depths, healing my soul to its core. Through the white haze clouding my mind, I struggled to form a coherent sentence. I shouldn't do this to a girl, but you're the only one I can ask. No one can concern with propriety. I let the words come pouring out of my mouth. Will you let me hold your hand? Saya first looked confused, but then smiled like she found a new toy. Her smile was like the sun. I think I have come to a conclusion. This girl is the before years of Sachiko. Yes. You're strange, she said, holding her slender white hand. No one's ever asked me anything like that before. Ever so carefully, as though catching snowflakes in my hand, I placed my palm against hers. I could clearly feel her human warmth in the softness of her delicate fingers. She was there, just beyond the palm of my hand. Thinking back on the joyful tears I shed then, I know that it was the moment I was saved from my fate. This is the first time in half a month that I've touched someone and felt them as human. I can't touch anyone else. I was in an accident, and as an after effect, I can't see people as human anymore. How mysterious. You're interesting, she said, winding her fingers gently around mine. Can I come back tomorrow night? Yeah, of course, but are you alright with that? Sure, the night belongs to me. And our nightly rendezvous began again. Saya came to my room every night at 3 a.m., skillfully taking advantage of the duty nurse's shift change. I was astonished to learn that she was living in hiding inside the hospital. It's so big that I never run out of hiding places, she said, answering my surprise with a nonchalant smile. This girl is definitely hiding something. I can just feel it. She told me that she had been living in the suburbs with her father, a doctor teaching at the hospital, but had found herself alone when one day he stopped coming home. After tiring of waiting for her father at home, Saya decided one night to sneak into the hospital, where she lived for over 2 months while searching for his whereabouts. Don't you have to go to school though? No, that taught me everything I needed to know. I'm really smart, you know. She was a strange girl. While she looked and talked like an innocent child, she also had the ability to hide from adults and feed herself. Perhaps her lack of common sense was due to her youth, but the sharp intelligence and deep knowledge she periodically exhibited were not those of a child. But such minor things were of no concern to me. To me, Saya was the only other human in the world gone mad. Her existence meant far more to me than standards of society. Isn't it dangerous here? Have you ever thought you might be found? Nope, never. I don't have to worry about finding food here, and it's not a lot more fun staying at Dad's house by myself. I looked through the patient list and found the ones who had mental problems, Saya continued, grinning mischievously. Sometimes I sneak into their rooms late at night and scare them. Even if they raise a big fuss, no one believes that mental patients say. They just brush it off as a bad dream. Her confession reminded me that the hospital was famous for its ghost stories. Who could have imagined that there was actually a real girl impishly roaming these hallways? So that's why you came into my room at first. Yeah, sorry. Are you mad? No. Gomen nasai. While her pranks were hardly praiseworthy, I couldn't bring myself to scold her for the very thing that had brought us together. You shouldn't do it anymore. Will you come talk to me at night instead? Yeah, that's more fun to me too. Oh dear. Look at that organ blanket. Cool. With extreme care, I was able to conceal my sensory disorder. It was glaringly obvious that the doctors had no way to cure me, and the fact that I had just undergone a new treatment clearly still in the trial and error stage made me even more cautious. How much interest would the doctors show in the patient's exhibit in such unusual side effect? As a medical student, it was easy for me to imagine the clinical coldness of the researchers. For the sake of my dignity, I was not about to become a pitiful guinea pig. And so I hid my everyday discomfort and loathing behind a mask of normalcy, convincing the doctors that my signs of stress were merely a result of hospitalization. Saya was my support, looking forward to her nightly visits as was the only one thing that gave me strength to overcome my daily torture. Having hope can make an enormous difference in a patient's progress. With the aid of my secret nurse, I recovered at a pace that left the doctors stunned. On the last night before my release, I summoned my courage and asked her, "Are you going to stay in the hospital forever?" "Yeah, I couldn't learn anything about my dad, but I don't have anywhere else I can go. I guess I'll stay as long as I can hide." In other words, she had no reason to stay either. I decided to take her to the plunge, timidly asking, "Why not stay at my house?" "Eh? My family's gone, so I have plenty of rooms. You need to hide, and it's not a bad place to live." "You want me to live with you?" Yes. I didn't have the courage to ask her when she thought of that, so I hastily offered a deal. "In exchange, I'll help you look for your father. I'll find him no matter what." "I think that'll be hard," Saya said, looking a little embarrassed. "They probably did something bad and he has to leave to the hospital. They can't get the police involved, but you have to be as discreet as possible. I'll do whatever it takes." Unable to control myself, I finally spoke the truth. "I don't want to be apart from you." At first she looked bewildered, but after considering it, she said, "Give me a little time to think." That said, she left my room earlier than usual. On the day of my release, I managed to smile as accepted the hideous, foul-smelling celebratory bouquet. The flesh beasts calling themselves Kyoji, Yo, and Omi came to pick me up. They had to come see him a number of times during my stay, but it never got easier to see my old friends change so horribly. My sudden tears of despair drew suspicion, but I managed to explain them away as tears of joy. As he walked to Kyoji's car through the halls, lobby, and parking lot, I desperately averted my eyes from the grotesque world. I looked for Saya, but she was nowhere to be seen. I stared through the car window at the hospital fading in the distance, praying for at least a glimmer of hope. But Saya never appeared. After Kyoji and the others dropped me off in front of the house I'd grown up in, I took another look at my surroundings. I'd never moved. Having lived my entire life in this one house, there had been no other place for me to call home. But now, everything had mercilessly changed. As I walked from the gate to the front door, I looked over the garden and trees. I had many memories of childhood there, and I could feel them being defiled by the twisted, festering shapes before me. There was nothing familiar left in the house, nothing to evoke fond memories. What I had once called home was now a whole nother world. It's a whole new world. But I have no home, I whispered with a smile of self-propriety. Oh, self-pity, I mean. Ascending to the second floor, I found my room utterly recognizable. And sitting on the bed, curled up like an abandoned cat, was Saya. As I stood there in shock, she looked timidly up at me in a tiny, weak voice and said, "Can I really stay?" I responded by sweeping her into my arms, embracing her tightly so that she wouldn't escape. Saya did not resist.